Joining us now is Alfonso Aguilar, president of the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles, a Washington-based advocacy group. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be with you.
You are on the record criticizing the president's decision. Why?
Well, look, I wasn't happy the way DACA was created. It wasn't created in a constitutionally appropriate way. President Obama should have gone through the legislature. But once created, it benefited over 800,000 people who entered the country illegally when they were minors through no fault of their own. They've grown up here. They're part of our communities. Many of them don't even speak the language of their home country.
And we've seen through the video in the show earlier in that one man's journey that this is a very important program to them. What do you think should be done now?
Well, look, now that it's going to be rescinded, I think Congress should move to pass legislation to provide these individuals who benefited from DACA a permanent status. But I think for it to happen, I think we need the president. And he tweeted this morning saying that it was now the role of the responsibility of Congress to do something.
But what does that mean?
That's why the president has to go a little bit further and say, if he were to say, I support DACA and I want Congress to pass I support the DREAM Act, and I want Congress to pass the DREAM Act, that will go a long way to help Congress, a Republican Congress, pass a DREAM Act that would provide permanent status to the undocumented.
So let's be clear here. The Dreamers, we want a DREAM Act, or you want a DREAM Act that would do what?
The DREAM Act, remember, DACA, what DACA does is provide relief from deportation.
Right.
Doesn't give him legal status. It does give him an employment authorization document that allows him to work. Under a DREAM Act...
And the president has said we're not doing that anymore.
Because I don't have the discretion.
And now Congress is tasked with coming up with a DREAM Act.
Okay, a DREAM Act would actually provide legal status, a permanent legal status, so they can stay here in the country, live here and work here permanently, hopefully even an eventual path to citizenship. But in a Republican Congress, it would go a long way if the White House gives a green light to the DREAM Act, because that would provide cover, political cover, to the more conservative members to support it.
But you are conservative, and these conservative members are not going to get on board with this. Is that right? And what do you do next?
I think that some would be willing to support the DREAM Act. From my conversation with them, they understand that in the case of the Dreamers, those who entered here when they were minors, I think it's different from the rest of the undocumented population. But I think it would go a long way for those members who are facing re-election next year if the president gives them support and says, you know what, I support the DREAM Act.
Thank you so much, Alfonso Aguilar, president of the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles.
Pleasure.